Hi, I'm James Eade at the Eade Foundation, and today's show is going to be broadcast about Chris Torres' summer camp, and I'm going to do a little lecture. But first, I wanted to talk a little bit about me because I like to talk about me, and also about the Eade Foundation. Now, the Eade Foundation was set up to help others be able to play chess, join the chess community. So building communities through chess is our elevator pitch to those. And right now, you can see we're pretty much all around the countries, all around the world, in many different countries. So we've been in Nicaragua, Colombia, on this continent, and then we've gone into Africa, and you can see 5 different countries. We've gone into Lebanon and Bhutan in Asia. So you know our reach is great, but I really appreciate you helping us help them. Go to eatefoundation.org, and you can see a donate button there. So if you can make any contribution, great or small, it would be really appreciated. Help us send chess equipment and get communities that cannot afford to get started to build a chess community. Help them get started, build a chess community. And when you're part of a community, you're never alone. So help us get to help them. And there's a little bit more that I could talk to you about chess, but this is really about getting people to appreciate chess and learn about chess with the summer camp of Chris Torres. So I want to bring Chris on. Hi, Chris.
Good morning, James.
And
How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm going to tell people a little bit about how to find you.
Okay.
And I'm going to change the scroll across the bottom of your screen, and that's one way to find out where you are, right?
Yeah, that's the main hub for our free online summer chess camp that we're doing. If people go to dailychessmuseums.com, they can click on free online summer chess camp 2022. Then they'll see one for June, July, August. Click on June, and then click on Monday, and they'll see what we're up to today. And it's still not too late to join. If anybody who is just finding out about this right now, yeah, it's perfectly fine to join. Whenever we have several different skill level groups and a mixture of live lessons, as we're going to be doing here in a moment.
And how much does it cost again, Chris?
It's free. It's
What?
absolutely free.
Oh,
So
what we're going to do today, though, I think it's going to be on the YouTube, right? You're going to find it by going to YouTube, and that's my foundation's.
Yeah.
The channel search on YouTube will get you to that.
And that link is in the assignments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And so then it doesn't cost anything to do that, right? But I was wondering about subscribers. Do they have to subscribe, or can they just piggyback off of others, or should they subscribe? Because I would love to get more subscribers on my YouTube.
Subscribing to Jim's YouTube channel is highly recommended. It is absolutely free, and Jim has an interesting the way he interviews key figures in the chess community. I've been involved in this community for a quarter century, and many of the people that he's had on, I've never met in person. I've only heard about. And after I watch any of Jim's videos, I learn more about chess history. But I feel like I've gotten to know somebody. Important in the chess community. So I highly recommend subscribing. Plus, Jim and I do these special events every once in a while, more than every once in a while, in fact. And so you want to be subscribed, and you also want to turn on that notification bell so you know when Jim's going live. Because oftentimes when he's going live, it's going to be neat stuff. It's always going to be neat stuff, and you want to know when that happens.
Okay. So there's Chris. That's where you find him. And there's me. That's where you find me. And today we're going to do something completely different, though. We're going to go through some of the games that I played. Normally, when Chris and I get together, we select a game played by a master of the past, and we go over and see what lessons can be learned. I'd love to pick, and Chris loves this also, pick games that show the transition from one age of chess culture to another. And but this time it's all going to be my games that I played, and we're going to talk about the circumstances of the tournaments that I was playing in, the rhyme and reason for them, and then see if there's anything that we can learn from the games.
Yeah, and if you're watching, feel free to. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the comments. I keep looking down. That's what I'm doing. So if you have a comment or a question on anything that's happening in these chess games, we would love to hear that. It adds to the lesson. Your question may be the same question many other people have in mind, or one that hasn't even occurred to some people, and so it'll be beneficial on a lot of levels.
And don't be shy about asking questions, because as Chris said, a lot of people might have the same question, but they're just too shy to say something.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be doing a service to others if you ask anything that you want to ask. So I'm going to add the. This is a tournament game that I played, if I can take this away, in Hawaii in 1994. And the circumstances for this tournament were interesting. The U.S. Chess Federation had a position of regional vice president for a long time. They've done away with that, but I was the regional vice president for the 5 Western states, and California is considered 2 states by them. So it's like California, 2 states in California, Nevada, Arizona, and Hawaii. And so for the continental states, I ran an international norm tournament so that people could get an IM norm. So I invited some of the top players who did not have yet a title to compete in that. But there wasn't anyone in Hawaii that I thought that would benefit from that. So I ran a FIDE rating tournament. Now FIDE has extended its rating all the way down. But at the time that I ran this, you had to have a 2200 rating in FIDE to get a FIDE rating. So it was very hard. There were very few people in Hawaii that were FIDE rated, even though there were players of master strength. So I ran this tournament in order to get them ratings. But this guy that I played, Leslie Au, was the strongest player in Hawaii. So I didn't want to take it easy on him. I wanted to win this particular game because the other players, I didn't feel like the need. I wanted to get them ratings, so I would give up a draw here and there. I didn't feel the need to go for the jugular on every game. But this game, I was really interested in.
Okay.
And playing it as well as I could. So if you can move the first couple moves for me. D4 is what I played at the time. Knight F6, so standard. So I played G3, which was very typical for me. Now, this is part of the elements of chess is control of the center, and D4 is that occupies the D4 square and attacks the E5 square. So it's very much involved in controlling the center. The NF6 move attacks the E4 and D5 squares. So very much in controlling the center. But what is G3? It's a wing move. Why would you play something on the wing? You see it attacks F4 and H4, but big deal. It's not, F4 is close to the center, but it's not very important. But the idea is to position the bishop on G2. And on G2, it attacks E4 and D5, which is where the knight is attacking. So it's what we call a fianchetto. The Italian pronunciation is fianchetto. It's a wing position for the bishop. Instead of classically, you would move it to bishop to c4 or something like that to attack the center. But then it becomes an object of attack often. And so this wing development turned out to be very prominent in the transition from the classical era of chess to the hypermodern and to the Soviet era and beyond, and still featured in all modern games today. And so black responds in kind with G6. So bishop G2, bishop G7. So these are the wing developments of the bishop in order to control the center from a distance. Now I said, well, you know what you did by not taking control of the center, by occupying it at all, you gave me a chance to do it, to set up the pawn duel. E4 is what I played. And E4, D4 is the pawn duel in classical chess. Black. White is now dominating the center position. It's occupying D4, E4. It's controlling D5, E5. And all those wing plays like Chris is showing, is C5 and F5 as well. So this is a tremendous space advantage according to classical theory. But Black is playing according to a theory that says you can occupy the center, but it doesn't mean you control it. And I will attack it, and I will weaken it. So D6 is a typical move to do this. It now fights for control over E5. It opens a line for the bishop on C8. So the bishop can come out and play into the game. And so this is a great, developing move. It attacks the center and prepares perhaps either E5 or C5. So these types of positions are becoming more and more popular because they're very dynamic. Black has not tipped his or her hand yet as to how it's going to choose to proceed. And White has made some commitment to the center. White's saying, you know what? I'm doing fine. I'm doing just fine the way I am. And so White proceeds with knight E2. Now, typically in classical chess, you want to put it on F3. That we always say that's the natural position. But on F3, maybe bishop to G4 can pin it, and I can't depose anything. But the knight gets out of the way of the king and the rook to allow castling. It influences center by helping to control the D4 square. And it's just an independent move. It doesn't tip its hand so much as typically you would see by knight F3. And also allows the bishop on G2 to keep support of the E4 pawn, which is incredible. Knight F3 would allow knight takes E4. So knight E2 is a better option at this point in time. So Black says, okay, fine, C6. Now C6 is also a good move in the sense that it is attacking the center square D5. And it also prepares the wing development of the queen on D8. D8 can come to B6 or A5 now, the queen on D8. So the problem, I would say, with C6 is that the knight can't move there anymore. So you've limited the mobility of the knight, and the knight, any piece's power is tied to its mobility. And if you've taken the square away from the knight, you've weakened its power. But maybe it'll come into the game through D7, then it won't matter. You just don't know at this point. So let's continue on. And did we get a comment?
Not yet.
Okay. Got one saying hi. Okay. So these cats.
Jim, your audio just went a little very digital on us. Did you open a new window on your computer or anything?
No, I didn't.
Uh-oh. Yeah, things are very unintelligible right now.
Okay, I'm not sure what happened.
That's much better. Okay, you're back.
All right, terrific. So, any case, we're done with talking about C6. Now we're talking about castling. White's castling because the action in the center is going to open up the game, and you don't want your king in the center when the game opens up. So knight to the B knight to D7, and so he says, okay, I've taken the put my pawn on C6, and my knight belongs here. So if it belongs there, why not put it there? And so White plays C4. Now, typically, I am not one of these people that puts their pawns in the center in this way. I tend to be a flank player, a semi-open player. But this setup on white, for some reason, I just wanted to go for the jugular. I just wanted to win this game so bad that I'm playing a little bit other than what I normally play, but more aggressively than I normally play. And so that's the idea behind this, is sometimes you just play according to the way you feel. And I felt aggressive, so I played aggressively. Castles is play. Nothing wrong with black's position. There's no weaknesses to exploit. So what do? Knight b, c3. The knight belongs on c3, why not put it there? Queen c7, again, typically good move. Now h3, I have run up against the possibility of knight g4 being played so often. I want to put my bishop on e3, and knight g4 would get in the way of my bishop on e3, sorry. And so I take the preparatory move, h3, to take knight g4 away. I have plenty of time. Look at my center. What are you going to do? You can't break it open quickly. So I take my time, play h3, and now he breaks in the center, e5. Okay. So you can see why I played h3 now, because I want to play bishop to e3.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop to e3 protects the d pawn, so I'm not going to take there and resolve with the tension in the center, but I'm going to bring another defender to d4 and say, okay, we're fighting over the d4 square, and I've got 3 pieces defending d4. So if you want to take it, go ahead. But he plays b5. Now I think this is a little question mark. This is a little premature. This is maybe not an absolute question mark, but it's dubious. I would say dubious is a good way to describe this, because it needed to be prepared with a6, something like that, before you strike. So I think it's a premature strike, but it's well conceived in the sense that the way to attack a center is often on the wing. So he wants to be able to break down my center. First he struck with e5, now b5. So it's well conceived, but ill-timed. I played now d takes e5, d takes e5. Okay, because I want to resolve the tension in the center, because I think he has given me an edge. D takes e5, characteristic. Now, if he hadn't played b5, I wouldn't have made this exchange, because it clarifies the position too much. But he's given me this pawn. Pawn takes, c takes e5. And he recaptures, c takes b5. But I'm saying, hey, look, man, that is a full pawn. I'm taking it. Knight takes b5. Okay, so now he plays queen to b8. Fine. It's okay. He's still using his queen to defend the pawn on e5, and he's also attacking the knight on b5, which if it moves, then the pawn on b2 would be unprotected, subject to capture. And then he could restore material equality. And if he restores material equality, then he's got a fine position. Then there is no edge for white. So I protect the knight. I say a5, a4. Now there's a couple of things that are going on here. One is I want to advance that pawn anyway. And I want to, my advantage is on the queen side, so I want to advance on the queen side. And so it also protects the knight. So great. So now he plays a6 to drive the knight away. I say, fine, okay, knight d6. Yes, you've gotten that pawn back, right? Queen takes b2. But have you thought about this enough? Queen takes b2. Where is the queen going to go? I'm going to play queen d3 right now, because I have to maintain protection of the knight on e2. So I play queen d3, and it's a little embarrassing that I'm threatening rook f to b1. Where does the queen go? That's a little bit embarrassing. So now I'm taking that pawn back, but I'm giving white several or at least a couple moves in return, just to restore material equality, white is going to get a big edge in time. So white had an edge in material, and he's translated it into an edge in time. Now, time can be fleeting. Material is usually more lasting, but time can be fleeting. And if you don't take advantage of it right away, it can go away. So, but this is a big threat now, rook b1. So what is he going to do? He plays queen to b4. And I say, fine, but I'm going to move my rook to b1 anyways. So now I've gotten the queen d3, and with the threat, force the queen to move. I've moved the rook with threat, forcing the queen to move. So now I've gotten a couple of moves. Got my queen developed, my rook developed, and he's just forced to move his queen. So queen a5, pretty much forced. So now what do I do? This was an interesting position for me to be in, because you notice that the bishop on c8 can't move. It's got nowhere to go. The knight on d7 is blocking it that way, and the only other move is b7. So it's going to take black a little time to untangle his pieces. So I don't have to rush. So I think, all right, I'll play queen c4. Now that you see that rook on f8 can't move either. So these, by kind of making these pieces powerless to move, you've reduced them. They're not just a regular bishop and rook anymore. They're held down to where they are. Their mobility has been decreased. A piece's power is tied to its mobility. And you'll notice that you can't really play that knight on d7 away, because bishop to b6 would trap the queen. So not only the knight stuck on d7, the bishop is stuck on c8, and the rook is stuck on f8. So he plays queen to d8. Now this gives him a chance to move the knight on d7 and maybe move the bishop on c8. But you can see how complicated it is just to develop. So I play a5. I don't want him playing a5 himself and then maybe bishop to a6, getting everything untangled that way. So keep that pawn on a6, which is gumming up the works for black.
Wow, that was that's one of those moves that is a little move, but just keeps black paralyzed.
Yeah, notice the rook on a8, no moved.
Yep.
Can't move. Bishop on c8, can't move.
They look like they can.
Sure.
Yeah, it looks like at first glance, it looks like they can, and then you calculate what would happen if, and then you realize that it cannot.
Okay. So this is more of the boa constrictor tightening its grip on the black position, and white is under no threat, has nothing to defend. The pieces and pawns are equal, so there's no material advantage here. All it is an advantage in space, an advantage in time. So white is pushing into black's territory. The knight on d6, the pawn on a5. And it's poised to bring in more, the bishop on e3, the rook on e1. So he's well positioned. And the knight on e2 even is so, it's not really in the game now. Well, maybe it can play knight c3, knight a5, knight a b6. Who knows? It can come into the game very quickly. Knight to c3, knight to d5. Who knows? These kinds of games the white pieces have all sorts of choices of where they want to go. And they have plenty of time to get there. And black's pieces are just having a trouble finding a square to move to. So this is a good move by black. knight to e8. Is when you're cramped, you want to trade pieces. So he's saying, please, please, please take knight takes e8, please. And I'm saying, no way. I play rook d1. No way I'm giving you that gift. If you want to take my knight, then I'll take back and penetrate with my rook. So I will have another piece deep in your territory, putting pressure on your territory. And you won't like it. But he says, I've really got nothing better to do. I might as well take it. So he plays knight takes d6, rook takes d6. Now, queen e7. Maybe I'm going to get out. I'll threaten the rook. Maybe now I can play my other rook on f8. Maybe I can play it to d8 or something, get in the game that way. Maybe it's possible. Maybe someday I'm going to be able to play bishop to b7. Well, what if I played rook to c6 now? I'm looking at it again. It's the first time I've looked at it for a long time now. Doesn't that allow bishop to b7? Well, yes, it does. He plays it. And now rook c7. And gosh golly, it's another problem. The rook has gotten to the 7th rank. Rooks love to be on the 7th rank. It's supported by the queen. It's attacking the bishop on b7. It's attacking the knight on d7. The knight is defended. The bishop is not. And the queen is pinning. The knight is pinned to the queen. So, oh my goodness. Black is still cramped. White is still well developed. And white has improved his squeeze. The squeeze is a little bit tighter than it was. He says, well, maybe I can unravel with rook a to c8. That looks good, doesn't it? Yeah, it looks pretty good, right? I can't take rook b7, it'll take my queen. Well, what about rook b8? B1 right now, sorry. Well, you can take my rook on c7, and I'll recapture, queen takes c7. Go ahead, rook takes, queen takes. Now where does the bishop go? Gosh, this is getting serious now. Because now the knight is pinned to the queen and cannot move. The bishop is attacked twice, cannot be defended. It must move. It has no good move. Because if it moves to, say, to a8, and rook to d1 hits the knight again. It's getting uncomfortable as heck. So, in any case, he plays bishop to c8 to guard the knight. Now you can see he hasn't really changed his position very much from where it was. We've gotten one set of rooks traded, one pair of knights traded. Other than that, you see the pieces still kind of stumbling all over themselves for black. The pieces are just quite happy for white. And the boa constrictor has tightened. White owns the C file and the B file. Now, it's at white's leisure to how to develop and how to press further, how to squeeze further. And obviously, the knight on E2 can enter the game now. Knight to C3. Look at that D5 square. Isn't it just crying out for a knight to be put there? And yes, that would be a great square for the knight. So he plays rook to E8. Okay. He's trying to get untangled. Maybe bishop belongs on F8. And maybe the queen belongs on F8. But anyways, the rook is a little bit better on E8 than F8, but not really a whole lot better. And knight to D5 comes right in. So queen to A6. I'm sorry, queen to A3. Sometimes do that by mistake. I'm thinking, okay, gosh golly, what am I going to do about that? You know, how do I squeeze further? what would you play here? I guess you can see so I shouldn't ask. So, but this was a very tense position in the game. And I played knight to b6. I knew I had a big advantage. I just wanted to take it and run with it now rather than try to exploit it later. So he's saying, oh, the knight on b6, I don't want to take it. It's going to take my knight bishop on c8. What am I going to do? Oh, I know. I'll take queen takes a5. I'll pin the knight to the queen. So it can't take knight takes c8. That'll save the day. Well, white says, well, what if I just play queen to c6? Now, knight can't take. So queen takes e on e8 and then takes on b6. It's an overwhelming material advantage. So the knight's pinned. The bishop has no square to move to. It's double attacked. Can't be defended again. Holy cow. This is all a function of the spatial advantage and advantage in time. And giving black so few choices in where to move. The piece mobility, black's piece mobility shrank to nearly zero. So the power of its pieces shrank to nearly zero. You can see the bishop is on c8 is back where it started the game. The knight is hardly developed. The rook on e8 is developed, okay, but not really, not to one of the open files. The B, C, or D file are where the straight movers belong. And white has the B file and the C file, and the D file is contested. The bishop on G2 and the bishop on G7 are both just doing their job guarding the E pawns. The bishop on E3 for white can cover both sides of the board. It's extremely well developed. The knight on B6 is penetrated deeply into it. This game is lost for black. And he tries queen a2. It's a desperate move to attack the rook. But the rook just moves to c1. And the black has the same problems. The bishop on c8 is lost. So that was that game. And it was an uncharacteristically aggressive game on my part. And the reason was because I wanted to win that game.
That was a beautiful game, Jim. One thing that I really, really enjoyed was when your opponent played 15 queen takes b2, and they restored material balance at that point. Oftentimes, I'll even allow my opponent to play a move like queen takes b2 and be up a pawn, because the queen is so easily targeted there.
Right. Good point.
And that's a classic kind of poison pawn in so many different openings. It's the queen's knight pawn, bringing, when your opponent brings their queen out to take that. But here, your opponent took it, and they aren't even up a pawn.
It was just to restore material equality, but it had all the negative drawbacks of a poison pawn.
It had all the same negative drawbacks. And then right here, I really love this hidden little threat of bishop b6. It seemed like maybe the queen reached safety, but no, it's still in a lot of danger, even on their own side of the board. That was a really nice game. Really nice game.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, especially because he was clearly the best player in Hawaii at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I didn't want him running through the team that we assembled from California.
Yeah, that was a fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see if I can do this without messing things up. Let me see here. I'm going to Open up a new analysis board, and you can see the new board, right, Jim?
Okay, I'll bring it up. I'm going to reply to a comment from Facebook.
Okay.
And just give me a second. I got to say it because
No
it's
problem.
somebody I know. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to bring up this screen. Now, let's see. Remind me which game we're going over because I don't see the players' names.
I think, well, I haven't loaded it yet. We were going to look at the Frias game, right?
Right.
All right, so let me go ahead. Internet's just being, I guess it's on.
Yeah, let me set up this tournament.
There we go. There we go. And let me copy it real fast.
This tournament was the U.S. Amateur Team East, which is a great tournament. The organizer, Steve Doyle, who's been doing this for years and years, and I cannot emphasize what a great job he does. And it's a fantastic tournament, but one of the best. I like team tournaments because it's not always about you, it's about your team. And so it builds camaraderie. And I like that aspect of it because usually chess is a one-on-one competition. And when you have a team that you're rooting for as well, then, it's no longer just me against you. It's us against them. And it's just, it builds. So, when you play another team and you're not playing that person, you can be friendly with them, because it's not a one-on-one type of thing. And so I just love team competitions. And I think this is the best for players that are not professionals, such as myself. But the guy I'm playing in this tournament is Victor Frias, who is an international master, rated around 2,600. Probably the highest rated player I've ever defeated. And Victor was a character. He was a joy to be around. He was full of life and really a funny guy. Funny in the sense that you would just make everyone around him laugh. And, so you couldn't be in a bad mood around Victor. And I really liked him. But when we're sitting down to play, they start the games. And I'm on board one. I'm on board one throughout this tournament. And they're all there. All the games start except for my opponent. It's not there, and I don't know who it is because it's a team. All I know is the team name, and I'm waiting for the board one. 5 minutes go by, 10 minutes go by, 15 minutes go by, and then Victor walks in. Of course, I know Victor. I know who he is, and I was thinking, oh gosh, he was starting to think he wasn't going to show up, and he was just playing with my head. He was just toying with me. And he shows up with a big smile on his face, and we shake hands and we sit down. And so now, in the last game, I was feeling very aggressive. I was full of votes. And then, this game, I'm not so much. But I start D4 anyways. This game, I just want to survive. Knight F6, typical. Knight F3. And I'm just trying to survive, play solid. Just want to escape the opening. I don't, Victor's opening preparation is superior to mine, so I just want to play normal, solid moves and get out of the opening. But immediately he plays C5. He's a very aggressive, Benoni type position. So I play E3, and I'm just going to say, okay, I'm going to take a little more passive, but I want to play solid and just be solid. So he plays B6. So he's going to take more of into maybe a Queen's Indian type format where the bishop is developed on B7. He controls D4, D5 and E4 from a distance. The knight on F6 and the bishop on B7 will team up to control those squares. So I play bishop to D7, D3, and that's my attempt to say I'm going to fight for E4. I've got a pretty good hold on D4 now. I'm going to fight for E4. So I'm just going to try to maintain the center positions on my side of the board and not let you occupy or control them, and keep the balance in the position. Because, I'm not feeling my oats here against Victor. Bishop to B7, typical follow-up. Knight to D2. Again, typically what I'm trying to do is not let him control E4. Saying I got D4. I'm not letting you get E4. and then I'm going to be fine. You can't overwhelm me if I got those two center squares. So he plays e6. So he's got to get his bishop out. He's not going to fianchetto it on the wing, so he's going to move it to e7, or maybe he's going to take on d4 and move it someplace else. I don't know yet. He hasn't tipped his hand. But e6 is a fine move. It allows the bishop on f8 to get into the game, and it also prepares d5 if he's going to play that. Who knows? So he hasn't tipped his hand yet. I castle, which is, again, just standard moves, just get my king to safety, just trying to be balanced. Bishop d7, so he's going to get his king to safety too. Now I'm saying, well, what am I going to do with my bishop on c8? There's just no future for it along the c1, I'm sorry, bishop on c1. c1 to h6 diagonal looks like hopeless. Not going to go anywhere there. So I play b3. So maybe there's some future on the wing. Got to develop that piece. It seems like the best idea. So Victor castles. I play bishop to b2. And he says, okay, now that you've committed your bishop on b2, I'll take that d pawn. Because now, even though you play e takes d4, which is what you want to play, now you're saying, maybe if I had my bishop back on c1, I could develop it along that line. But I can't now. I moved it to b2. So now's the right time to capture on d4. And yeah, so I'm already thinking, okay, my pieces are not that happy. They're not working that well together. And you look at black's position, and there's no weaknesses, except for maybe d6 is a little weak. So black plays d6. Now it's not weak. Now it's also in the game. It's fighting for the e5 square. So he's got this d4, his e5 and d5 squares. e5 is under contest, and d5 is pretty much black's square. And we're fighting for e4. So e4 and e5 are under contest. d4 is mine, d5 is his. Still pretty even game. But look at his position. His position has no weaknesses. His bishops are placed well. Knights are placed well. And is my bishop on b2 optimally placed? Probably not. So I'm not that happy with how it's gone, but it's okay. Seems okay. Rook to e1. Here's a half-open file. The rook belongs on it. Put it there. So he plays a6. Why not? All the time in the world. It's not an open game. There's no reason not to play smart moves. Takes away the b5 square from my pieces. Threatens to move b5, maybe, if he wants to, in some later position. So he prepares it. So it's a fine move. There's no waste of time here. So I play c4, which is a little committal, because I now want that knight on d2 to be on c3. But wishing it so doesn't make it so. It's on d2. Ideally, it would be on c3. Then my game would be fine. But now it's a little bit awkward. It's not ideally placed. No, that's okay, though. I'm still fighting for the squares. Where, I don't really have a weakness either. So I'm not that unhappy. Knight on b to d7, completing its development. Typical. Very good. I play h3 here. And h3 is not pertinent. It's not really. But I want to give my king some luft. I'm not sure what to do. And so I'm just... I had a friend, Steve Brandwine, who used to, this kind of position, he used to say pass. It doesn't hurt my position. It gives my king some love. There's really no point to it. It's not like I'm going to move my bishop to e3 and I want to prevent knight g4. But I played it. He plays rook e8. Very smart. The rook belongs on e8. Why not move it there? Now, I played rook e3, and this is, again, maybe this is what I was thinking when I played h3. This is not a pertinent move. This is not a good move. It's not a terrible move. It's not a blunder by any mistake, but it's by any sense of the word. But it's not got a point to it. This is what you're trying to make your moves meaningful. Have a point. And so he says, okay, bishop f8. All right. I'll put my rook, I'll make that rook on the e file too. What are you going to do? Play d5? You'd be dumb to do that. But he's ready if I do play it. So now I just am running out of ideas. And I guess I was thinking like queen e2 and then rook e1, maybe tripling on a half open file that there's no hope of me opening. It's just not. So I must be double thinking here and saying, why did I do this? I don't know what to do. So I'll just trade pieces. Rook. So I play knight to e4. Maybe just trade pieces. Well, this isn't too smart on my part because I just played rook to e3. I could have played knight to e4 without playing rook to e3, and it would have been the same position. Knight takes knight, bishop takes, rook takes. So this is the coward's way to play chess, to trade pieces and hope you get down to a drawn ending. But Victor has something up his sleeve that I didn't take into account. And again, I could have gone into this with that. The rook e3 was just a complete wasted move. h3 and rook e3, complete waste of time. Just allowed him to play his bishop to f8 and activate his rook along the e file. So now he plays d5. Ouch. Well, it's okay, I guess, as long as I, don't leave myself with an isolated pawn. But c takes and then e takes would be fine for me. But he plays knight f6. He doesn't play e takes. It's not embarrassing me, saying, uh-oh. Now I'm definitely embarrassed. I'm like, oh boy. This is not the position I had in mind. So I have to play the rook retreat. Rook e2 is probably the best square for it. It's fine. Now knight takes d5. He doesn't have to play e takes d5. If he plays e takes d5, it's pretty drawish. And then I would be cowardly happy. And but knight takes d5. Now that knight is clearly superior to my bishop on b2. The pawn on d4 is isolated. All endings are superior for black, no matter what endings they are. So I'm not a happy camper. But rook c1. Hey, there's an open file. Put your rooks on it. That makes sense to me. Plays bishop to d6. Now, is he going to play e5? I don't think so. But, it's activating the bishop. It's activating the piece. It's like really a smart move. Good idea. Get the queen, connect the rooks. He's going to complete his development. And any ending is going to be better for black. So he knows it. I know it. And take his time. So I play knight to e5. And I think, okay. At least I'll put a little squeeze on his position, because he's not going to take that knight. I know it. And he does. All right, so this is what separates the international masters from the FIDE masters. I asked him about it. I said, I really didn't expect you to take that knight. And he said, it's the same. The ending's the same. Because now I don't have an isolated pawn. So I'm thinking he's improved my position. And he says, no, it's just the same. The knight is better than the bishop. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. So I take back. He plays queen g5. Now that his rooks are connected, he can play to the d file. But look at that knight. I've got no pawns that can drive it away. It's in the center. It's supported by a pawn on e6. It's super solid. The bishop can't hop over that pawn on e5, so it can't get into a kingside attack. It's got no future, really. So, and also, I point out there's still rooks on the board, so it's not quite as important. But knights and queens are much better. They work much better together than queens and bishops do. So if you're going to have choice between minor piece and a queen, choose the knight and queen.
Interesting.
Not the queen and bishop. The reason is the only move that the queen cannot emulate, the only piece is powers that the queen does not possess, is the knights. And the knight adds something to the queen's power that the bishop cannot. The bishop just duplicates. power that the queen already possesses. But look at the threat of knight to f4 right now. Oh my goodness. Attacks the rook on e2, threatens mate on g2, threatens knight takes h3 check. So queen g5 has got a series of threats that I just don't want to think about. Ouch. So I played rook e4 here. Now, it doesn't technically solve all the problems a knight f4 would create, but it solves enough. It takes the rook out of the way. And a move like knight f4 now could be met by queen either g4 or f3. And I'm threatening to take that knight, and the knight has nothing to do because might have to retreat. So rook e4 indirectly prevents knight f4 because knight f4 has no teeth anymore. So it's a good defensive move. And he says, okay, fine, but I'll play rook a c8. And I still got knight f4 in the air if you do anything stupid. So I play rook e to c4, and he takes it, and I take it, and he plays b5. Now this is really a smart move in a sense, and a mistake in another, because we've established that the queen knight is stronger than the queen and bishop. We've established that the knight is a superior minor piece. But if I can get exchange queens, I can draw this ending. This is not a problem. The knight is not so much better than the bishop, because there's only a couple open files, and I'm on one of them. I have plenty of drawing chances. This is really, I'm not worried about this ending if I can trade queens. And what did b5 give me the opportunity to? It gave me the opportunity to trade queens. Queen c1. Now Victor knows this as well as I do. He does not want to trade queens. What's he going to do? If he trades queens, he's really saying, I can't win. I'm going to play for a draw. It's going to be a drawn game, drawn ending. And he says, okay, I can't allow to draw this FIDE master. I'm an international master. I'm rated 300 points higher than he is. So I'll keep playing. I'll keep the queens on board. Queen f5. Oops. Queen f5 is a blunder. You can see the positions. I won't ask you why is it a blunder. It's a blunder because he overlooked rook c8. Now, this is really a tragedy because black had outplayed white the entire game. Not by a lot, but by enough to enter a position where you can win any ending that we choose, just about. He's got an advantage in any ending anyways. And he's almost there. He's almost there. But I was going to trade queens and get to a drawable ending. Coward that I am. I was just trying to draw. But now, it's too late. He's made a mistake. I'm going to win. So he can't play rook takes rook because queen takes c8 is mate. No. Knight c7 doesn't work. Queen takes. It's fine. So how does he defend that rook? The only way to defend the rook, really. Rook f8. Guess why that doesn't work? Queen c5. And he has to resign. Again, this is a tragedy. And only because, he was really outplaying me the whole game. And then just because he tried too hard to win, he lost. Now, how many times has that happened to me? I can't tell you, but it happens a lot. So How are we doing on time, Chris?
We're doing great. We have a little bit of time left to talk about the Eade Foundation a little bit more. And I really enjoyed both of your games. Your entire presentation today was just awesome. I learned so much, and I know all of our players who are in the chess camp have learned a lot as well. Reminder to the players in the chess camp, in a few minutes, you're going to go back to dailychessmusings.com, click on the summer chess camp link, click on the June chess camp and the Monday assignments. And you'll see what is in store next. And then one more quick reminder before we talk a little bit more about the Eade Foundation. One more quick reminder, and that is make sure you join the chess tournament on chess.com for the noon tournament. And remember, the games start as soon as the previous game finishes. It is 3 rounds. So once you're there, just enjoy the tournament experience. Don't go do anything else, because your round will start when the other games finish. And then 2 p.m., we will see you guys on the Chess by Lauren YouTube channel to finish out the day. Jim, this has been a real pleasure. Again, I really enjoyed the entire presentation today. And it was neat. It was neat featuring your games, because as you said, normally we're looking at famous games from transitional times in chess history, and this was really, really neat. I just really enjoyed it and learned a lot. Before we finish up, what can you tell us about the Eade Foundation?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thank you again for the opportunity to reach all the people in your summer camp. One thing I will say about that is I played Board 1 in 1999 Amateur Team East, and I went undefeated. I beat an IM Victor Frias, as we just saw, and drew Joel Benjamin, multiple U.S. champion.
Wow.
On Board 1, I was playing a series of good players, and I was able to avoid losing any games and overachieved in a couple. And it's the kind of tournament that you just never forget. And so whenever you think about having a tournament that didn't go your way, hang in there, because you never know when you're going to be having a tournament that you'll never forget. It's one of the beauties of chess. We set the pieces back up, win or lose. And it doesn't matter if you win or lose, it's how you play the game. And chess teaches us so much about how to play the game, which is why the Eade Foundation does what it does, which is help communities develop or help people develop a chess community, even if they can't afford chess equipment. If they live in a country that they can't they don't have access online, they don't have computers, they don't have internet access, they don't even have enough money to make sure that they have meals every day, and they're just living life as best they can. You give them the gift of chess, especially to kids. It's wonderful for them because there's a lot of hours. Even if you get the meal of the day, there's still a lot of hours that you don't know what to do with. And if you're playing chess, you're not thinking about where's your next meal coming from. You're not worrying about anything other than the position in front of you. And one of the people in Uganda that I work with told me that when they start, he works with a lot of orphan children in Uganda, and he says when they start playing chess, they stop crying. And it's just so
wow
to hear this, is that they don't have a lot, and chess gives them so much, gives them hope, and it gives them the sense that they have some way of expressing themselves that can be seen and appreciated by others. And so this is the gift we give to them And to help the Eade Foundation do this, just go to our website, eadefoundation.org, and click on the donate button. No contribution is unappreciated, whether it's small or large. And it's just what we do to help those help themselves. Because once you get a community established, then people are starting to work together, teaching others to play. And everybody becomes a teacher, not just a student. So all your students today, they're learning at your summer camps. One day they'll be returning the favor to somebody else by teaching them the game of chess. It's a game, it's a gift that lasts a lifetime.
It truly is. There's a famous saying that says that when a candle lights another candle, it doesn't diminish itself at all. Everybody who's in this camp today, everybody whoever learns chess tends to return that favor and light somebody else's candle. And you can help light a lot of candles by doing a quick donation to the Eade Foundation. And how do they do that donation, Jim?
Let me change it. Instead of showing your banner, show mine. So go to the eadefoundation.org, and you'll see a donate button there, and just click on that, and you'll walk through the donation amount. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And this is a free chess camp. So if you appreciate this kind of experience and you feel like you want to give a small donation as a thank you, that's exactly how you do it. Go to
and also, if you don't have you don't feel like making a donation, if you just go to the YouTube channel, do a search and find the Eade Foundation channel and just subscribe, that'll help me because then I can tell more people that I have followers, and that helps me when I try to get someone's attention to help others play chess, to hold a chess tournament. It just is a big help to me. Even if
make sure you like and subscribe to this video. Again, this was a wonderful lesson. In fact, it's worth watching later on. Watch it again. You'll gain so much more. There are so many little bits of wisdom that Jim mentions when he's explaining why he did certain things, and you're really seeing it from his perspective, because these were games that he played, so he remembers what he was thinking at the time. There's no guesswork as to his decision-making process, and he's a very, very strong chess player, and so it's a real treat to get that kind of glimpse into how his mind works on these positions. Jim, we got to run.
Okay.
But thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was just a real pleasure.
All right. So I'll sign off now, Chris.
Okay.
And enjoy the rest of your camp, everyone.
We certainly will. Bye-bye.